Hello and welcome to Miniature Realms and Regular Ramble at the second attempt, having some tech issues again here. Now, Martin, please speak and let everyone know that they can hear you, and then I can play around with the audio if it doesn't work. You're here. Hopefully. Can then someone let me know if they can hear Martin? Because I know we had a problem with Dan the other day. Just the other day, yes. Just waiting for someone in the chat. He is in the chat. That's the 30 seconds everything's behind. So I know we're live and just waiting for someone to let me know whether they can hear you or not before we ramble in. We can hear you. But can you hear Martin? This was the problem the other day. Nope. Apparently not. Cannot hear Martin. I thought this might be a similar problem than we had the other day. Oh dearie me. Right. Look, Martin, do you know any sign language? It should work, this. Come on now, you pain in the bum. Zoom, restart capture.
So weird.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try another one. So the last time I switched it on and off again and it worked, but apparently this time it's going to be more of a pain.
It got wise to what you did last time. Is there anything I need to do on mine?
No. It's the OBS doesn't remember the settings for each time with another all preset, so it's there and switched on, but it's not capturing you, which is all fun of the fair.
I knew someone would say that. Don said, "Is this a bad thing?"
Well, I don't really fancy just talking about Wars of the Roses. It'd be a very short show unless I can get your audio working. But why? No, we are having problems. Right, Martin. Can anyone hear him yet? Can hear him now. There we go. So Rich said, can hear him now. Good. Right. That was all good fun. So it's literally exactly the same as it was before. Just turned it on and off again. So I have to remember that each time.
It's that connection between East and West. It's just
something like that. It's me being cheap and using OBS rather than signing up for a streaming platform. But it is what it is.
That comes with its own issues. Don't worry about it.
Well, I quite like OBS. We'll have more chat offline about it. I quite like it. It's free for a start, and it's fairly useful. But that little bit there is a bit of a pain. So let's talk a little about what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk a lot about your miniature range, Martin, and we're going to talk about gaming Wars of the Roses. But before we get into all of that, I haven't done a bit of an update for my hobby progress for my Discord users. We didn't do a stream at the end of the month, so we're going to do that before we do anything else. For those of them that have been waiting a while for this, so basically just give them a little bit of a shout. So Martin, I don't know if you've seen this. So I do something on the Discord for my sort of channel viewers called a monthly hobby pledge, and they set their own pledge at the beginning of the month for what they want to paint, and they're really competing against themselves. So they set their own targets. Can be a single miniature, could be a whole army if they wanted to, and they can even adjust it because it's not about even always completing it. It's about giving yourself a target and getting some stuff done. Whereas I know sometimes I can be a little bit laissez-faire about it and think, oh, I've got loads of time, and it's worked for me. I've only hit one of the 3 targets so far, but I've also done more than I have done for ages. So I just wanted to go through the thread on our Discord really and have a little look. and show off some of the pictures of people's work. So we've got Papa Vogie here with lots of Night Goblins there, and that was quite early in the month, and he'd already finished his first regiment. Neil Firmin, and we have some French mercenary pikemen there. Some of these will be pledges, some of them will be completed. So that's stuff pledged. Kitsune is working on more of his cyberpunk stuff. And then we have Ben there, did loads and loads and loads of Bretts. I know I'm a little bit further ahead than what you can see watching it live, so I'm trying to keep up. The Cat Man there, who's that's is that Infinity? I'm making a guess. That's Infinity.
Like
yeah, I don't keep up with Infinity very well. And then we got more Bretonians, so Curie this time. Lots of. That's awesome. So we all know Andy. What beautiful looking banners there. The strength of a beautiful banner and how much that stands out. Really bright and vibrant. Very cool. And then we got. So I managed to do 5 regiments. Second unit of Night Goblins. God, that's a lot of Night Goblins. James painting Middle Earth stuff.
Oh, cool.
We got more Bretonians. And that I think was March, and we're starting to get into April here. Aled, we did loads of stuff, and there's loads of, did some 28mm 95th, I think, your favourite, Martin. Some 20mm Gurkhas.
Love the 25th and 95th.
Steve, there we go, some Empire, old Empire as well. And then we go on to April pledges, so this is where people pledge what they're going to do, and then they reply later on. There we go. That's another a late finish, but look at all of those wood elves.
That is cool. I found some wood elves the other day. Actually, I was looking for a box to put something in. I found a load of plastic wood elf horsemen that are just sitting around. Get them on
eBay. You'll make loads of money at the moment with those. All painters. And then Wrath and Ruin, that's how much he got painted in 3 weeks. He tried to do a whole army, and then he had holiday at the end of it. I know, he painted loads. It's a massive achievement there for his Tomb Kings. And then Lana, what were those? I can't remember what they are, but they look Ashigaru or something like that. I don't know. I'm looking too far away, and it's not my period of history. Splinter Flam for Warcry. More work on the cyberpunk there, and Papa Vogie's now working on some Panzer Grenadiers for bolt action, and then we've got a pledge there from Neil Firmin, massive Beastman army. I think it was a bit of a tart-up because a lot of it's painted, some painted, and I think he finished it really quick. There we go, some elves. It's producing a lot of hobby, which I think is really, really good. There we go. So you finish that pledge super quick.
Yeah.
That whole Beastman army
as well.
Yeah, huge variety,
which is really cool.
So I'm such a hobby butterfly, and my channel reflects that, and so do the people who watch it and are in the Discord as well.
That's good.
So if anyone's watching it isn't in the Discord, there will be a link in the description. So go and join. It's super friendly. I'll make sure that there's no one. Oh, in fact, I don't think I've had to do any management of it at all. Very much like your plastic crap. Facebook page. Just people get it.
Yeah.
They get the vibe, don't they? They see the way you act and the way you talk on your videos and the way you're on your podcast. And they just get it. That was my pledge. I did adjust the it's lots of long beards and hammers, but I did finish that. We'll see a bit later on.
Cool.
Awesome bit of Temple of Moor from Mordheim. Look at that. It's absolutely awesome. It's huge as well.
Oh, nice.
See, it's loads and loads and loads. Cool. So this is what happens when you've got 2 months to do all in one go. More Bretonians for Ben. There we go. More Infinity. Lovely yellow going on that, and some ogres.
Oh, cool.
God, and we're still going. Some more Epic from James. I don't think did this in the end. I don't think he finished, but he definitely started it. Steve did all of his. He's got great swords, and then some other little bits as well. What's all this? Fallout minis, topical. Did you watch Fallout, Martin?
I finished it. Yeah.
What do you think?
So I loved it. I'll put my hand and say I haven't played Fallout since Fallout 2, so I have no skin in the game. I have no vested interest. A bit like with The Witcher, I haven't read it, I haven't played it, so
you can enjoy it in a different way, can't you?
I enjoyed it, and I just thought it was very cool, and also didn't go on for too long. 8 episodes was a nice amount.
I've left wanting more, but I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and like you, I think I played the first version of the game, and I've not played it since. So I didn't go in with any sort of ideas about it, and was able to enjoy it without pointing out stuff. More World War II from Papa Yogi. There's none of that. Cool. Amazing stuff. I think those are 3D prints from Sherman's from Octet and Panzer, and then that was my finished towards in the end. I switched out my the organ gun for some Iron Drakes, and I've now painted the organ gun as well anyway, and that's my pledge for this month. A couple of gyrocopters. The organ gun's already done, and I've stripped the old Goblobber ready for painting as well.
I hated the gyrocopters. I despised them so much. Every game I played against dwarves, I just lose my rag.
Right then, and we're back on screen. So I wanted to get through that and apologise to everyone because I didn't have a stream at the right time last month. That we ended up with 2 months in one go. But everyone, keep it up. Keep your pledges coming in, and just remember, only competing against yourself. So I just did mine 1 month, just changed the amount. It was rather people. You don't want people stressed about the hobby. They want it should be a nice motivator, but it shouldn't be one of those things where they think, well, I failed as such, because life comes first, doesn't it? Real life comes first. So sometimes you just adjust your goals and things, and then move on from that. Right then. So Martin, so you've just released 2 additions to your Ragged Staff range, but there might be some people here who haven't come across, they might not have seen you on the Hobby Hour, they might not have watched Plastic Crap Podcast. I imagine that most of the people in the chat and watching are people that have originated from the Plastic Crap Podcast, but let's assume that they're not. And of course, people on the replay might watch this. Do a little introduction of yourself, a quick one, and then talk about what Ragged Staff Minis is really.
Yeah, sure. Okay. My name's Martin. I run the channel 7th Son, which is mainly predominantly historical minis, but I try to take a bit of a lighter approach to historical stuff, and there's quite a few people that do that now, and I think that comes across a lot better. Essentially, Ragged Staff is the result of me moaning that their miniatures weren't around that I kind of wanted to paint, and bear in mind there's only like 7 or 8 of them at the minute, but I just wanted a bit of character for my Wars of Roses, because I've painted now somewhere in the region of 2,000 Wars of the Roses miniatures in one form or another, and there's only while I love the ranges that are out there, and you've got Front Rank and you've got Foundry and you've got Perry, I kind of wanted my own, and because as you know, we get sort of like a little bit of money from YouTube. I kind of sat there going, well, I don't need to buy more models because I've got loads of models. What can I do? So I saved up the little monthly payments, and then I got in touch with a sculptor that I really liked, and I said, do you fancy doing some stuff together? And I thought I'd just do it and share it, and it's been fun to the point where now I seem to spend more time researching what I can do next and planning my next army, which is slightly problematic when it comes to my gaming. So that's what it is. Ragged Staff is just it's a bit of fun. It's I think we all start out as gamers and painters, and then you get better at painting, and you get really good at gaming. You go into tournament seeds and things like that, or you do YouTube, and you start to build up a little bit of sort of backing, and then I think all of us always said, well, what would you do if you could do a figure? And I thought, well, I'll have a go and I'll put them out there, and I sell them through Etsy for 2 reasons. One, because Etsy takes care of all of the management of the fees and everything like that, and I don't have to do anything. And secondly, because I already run co-own a business, and I didn't want to have to do it two things at once, basically. And I kind of thought I had at the end of it as well. If they don't sell, I've got some cool looking minis that I can make. So
absolutely,
but they're just physicals. I made the decision quite early that I just sell physical models. They're physical prints. I'm the only person who's got those STLs.
Yeah.
I hope. So I spoke to quite a few people, and quite early on I decided that was the sort of the route I'd take for them. So yeah, there you go. That's
So how many times has Ken asked for the STLs?
Twice. Genuinely twice. He's asked me, and then I've had some. It's quite nice. I've had some people get in touch who want to either produce them or sell them as third party, but I don't want to do that because I like to I like to basically do quality control on them, and I hope that the ones that people have get, we can see that you know the cleanup has been done, you know the stuff has been cured, and if there's ever you know pitting or things like that, I chuck those. They go. So
Yeah.
I get an extra. I have a little extra level of control over things, and I'd rather keep it at that kind of a level, because I've bought 3D prints online before, and they come. I think people sometimes think it's a good idea to send them supported because you've got a scaffold and a frame, but of course they've cured, and then you de-support the thing and it just pings off in all directions, and it's a nightmare. Whereas you know I kind of feel that if you're paying for something and you're looking at image, that's what you should receive at least. I mean, with all miniatures, you know, it's like sometimes there'll be breakages. We've all snapped you know feet or fingers or something's gone pinging off, but I think if that can be avoided by doing that yourself, then you should. So I've decided I haven't sort of agreed to sort of send it. I did have someone approach me about trying to do them in metal, which is something I have looked at a fair quite a bit. I spoke to a couple of people. I had a very lengthy chat with Ian from Flags of War, because he produces miniatures, does his awesome Border Wars range, and I chatted to him about it, and like how sort of to go about it. And I actually contacted a couple of people, and I think it's something that I would consider, but down the line when you know things are maybe my other bit, I can step away from my other business a little bit more. Everything is everything. I don't know how much Haley, my wife, would like it if I suddenly started getting all the molds and everything delivered.
I can imagine, but at some point it'll be a really cool thing to do, I suppose. But right now, that's obviously not something you need to do. I imagine it'll be worth it maybe when you've built up the range a little bit more, and it becomes worth kind of getting a batch done also.
Absolutely, at the point where if I sell them in multiples, in packs, then I could see it. So if you had Longbowmen and Billman or whatever, you know, men at arms, and there was like 3 to pack. But at the moment, I'm happy with where it is, because it means I can have a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've been, as you've been talking, I've just been flicking away on your Etsy site, and the people on the stream can see the miniatures that you've got up already. Do you want to talk about the newest ones then? So and I'll put those images on the screen as we're doing it on your Etsy site. So which one do you want to talk about first?
We should probably do the Impatient Air first, because he was the template for the other one. Because so the Impatient Air is basically I wanted to do essentially a knight, you know, a man at arms, a guy in full armor without any trappings on. And part of the research that I did is there's I don't know if people are aware of a very sort of interesting chap called Tobias Capwell, and he's essentially the authority on the 15th century armor. And he used to work for the Wallace collection. If you watch any of these documentaries online about the Wars of the Roses or medieval, like, it's usually him that's showing off armor and things like that. Anyway, he produced 3 amazing volumes on armor, and 2 of them are about English armors. And also, I was really sad, and I like going around old churches looking at effigy, tomb effigies. And one of the cool things is the effigies are insanely detailed for the armor, and there's a very, very famous pair of effigies in a place called Norbury in Derbyshire, and they are in absolutely fabulous condition. And essentially what you can see there on the screen at the minute in the armor on the Impatient Air is this English armor that's been worn by Sir Ralph Fitzherbert and Nicholas Fitzherbert, and it's basically this is them brought to life if in a simplistic way. That's what I wanted. I wanted that armor standing upright and what it would be like. And I think a lot of people as well, if they like their historical stuff, or if they, or even just Ospreys, they know maybe of the artist Graham Turner, who does a lot of work for Osprey, and he's just released a fabulous Wars of the Roses book, and he'd illustrated some people in his armor, and that's basically what I wanted to show. And Marcos, who who does my sculpting, he's his own line, which is the Reconquer Designs line. His attention to detail is fabulous, and I wanted, so talking to him and showing him the armors, I mean, the poor guy, I sent him about 500 reference images on, that's not a joke either, different sketches. So I sent him all of these, and I wanted to bring that armor to life. And with the impatient air, I think that's what you can see. We talk about rivet counters, but this is the rivets in the armor. You know, he's done such an amazing job at reproducing that armor, that I didn't want to put any cloth or tabard or anything over it. So that was the idea, and I thought I really want to do this, and I want something which has been commented on a fair bit when I've chatted to people. And when I initially did Ragged Staff, which was in July last year, no, August last year, when it went live, I was like, oh, people want dynamic sculpts. They want someone swinging an axe, or they want someone jumping forward. And what I've actually found is, no, people want relaxed poses. They want painted, because you can, with a model like this, he's standing there at rest. You can see all the detail. You can see all of the intricacies with the armor and the belts and everything like that. And people want to have a go at painting it. So I decided, well, I'll do a couple, and they will be more relaxed poses. And that's why this guy was called the Impatient Air. So I asked Marcos particularly to make him look like he's really fed up. So you know, and he's an amazing sculptor, especially the work he does with faces. So that's why I wanted an open visor. And when he sent me, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of back and forth to do with the you know, essentially the drafts, if you like. He sent me them, and very soon I was like, this guy is coming out just awesome. You know, this is really cool. So he then popped it over, and I printed off a test as quick as possible. And when I was looking at it, I was like, well, I wonder what this is going to look like if I sort of increase everything by 200%. That was essentially what I did, and I ended up with the chap that who's on the screen. That was my test mini, and because I had a lot of people approach me about 54mm miniatures, I didn't realize, and this is probably quite naive of me, and just shows again how big the hobby is and how many facets of it is. I didn't realize that 54mm minis were as popular as they are, especially for painters or people who just want to have a go. This was the first large scale model that I've painted for bloody years. I think Inquisitor was the last time I did a large scale one when that came out. I just had it, and I just thought I want to share this. So I haven't done any other 54mm, although I have to say I did a batch. I thought I have to see how these sell to make it worthwhile. I don't want to be stuck with a massive stock of 54mm minis that won't go anywhere. So I just did an initial batch of 20, and I sent a few out for people to paint as well. I think you've just thrown up some pictures that you showed, like Mike Peters painting of one, which is lovely. Yeah, basically the response to the 54 has been so good. I'll definitely be doing some more, and then with the second guy, the Watchful Lord, he'll probably make his way. Well, he's already, a test one has already made his way into 54. So yeah, that's him. Essentially a really gruff, annoyed heir waiting for his father to die so he can take over the reins of the family. So very in keeping with the Wars of the Roses. And the Watchful Lord is essentially his dad, who's just. I envisioned it as a couple who basically the father who's paid. They're wearing exactly the same armor.
Yeah.
Made by, so in my head, the father is paid for the armor for his ungrateful son, and what's something that's really lacking, I think, certainly in it for me, for the Wars of the Roses, is older people. I think I've just seen a comment with said, what scale are they? They're 28 and 54 mil. So they do rank up with Perry's as well. So it's just the 54 mil was just a chance to do something a bit different. So I'm currently painting, actually as we speak, I'm painting up a 28 mil version of the Watchful Lord as William Fitzalan, Lord Arundel. So the idea with him is again, it's just a chap who's seen a lot of battles, and he's sitting there considering his choices. But something that I wanted to get across is, especially in the Wars of the Roses, some of the commanders, they're really old. They are getting on a bit. Lord Wenlock at the Battle of Tewkesbury, I think he's 69. He's knocking on for 70. Vaughan, who survived Tewkesbury and then chased Jasper Tudor, got captured by Jasper Tudor, got his head cut off. He was in his late 60s. Salisbury,
good age for back then, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Salisbury was 60 when he died at Wakefield. I think Duke of York was 58, 59. One of my favourites, who is the Earl of, but when became Earl of Kent, it's Falkenberg, Lord Falkenberg, who's one of the few who dies in his bed, not at the end of a sword. He sort of lived to the ripe old age of his mid-60s, saw Tarleton, saw the wars in France, and then died in his bed, and everything was okay when he died, and then obviously it all went wrong again afterwards. But I just felt that a visibly older person would be fun, and people could have fun. And it was actually Marcos who basically, I said, oh, can we make him old and graying with like, he doesn't care about his haircut, he doesn't care about style anymore. He doesn't care about any of it. And he said back, he said, well, what about if he's bald? I was like, yes, do it, it will baldy, do it. So there's a really good relationship with the sculptor. There's a real back and forth, and his ideas, and a lot of what I say is, I'd love this, and he'll say, great, the human body doesn't do that. Or if you've got this, the armor won't work. And he has a very good understanding of physics with armor, and that's something which I'm very pleased to work with him about. Is if you look on the other models, the cloth hangs on the armor, and you can see the armor underneath the cloth. You can see the ridges of the plate, and especially on this guy as well. You can actually see, if you look at the ridges of where the plate is under the armor, and you don't always get that on other figures. But that's it. These aren't meant to be, obviously, you're not going to create a whole 28mm mass battle army out of these guys. These are to mix in, give you some different options for your command bases and your lords. I think you've got the bill. I've just seen actually flashed up the one that Paul Mackay painted with that insane livery. I just thought that is 28mm, which is his freehand is mad. I've just been trying to do another lion, and it looks like Winnie the Pooh on this tabard, and he's absolutely, it's fantastic. So to have Paul and yourself, obviously, and a bunch of people who want to paint them up is lovely. And I kind of feel like the community as well is kind of helped these minis, because I essentially just ask on my channel, like, what do people want to see, what do they fancy? Or I do it through the channel memberships, and I'll post up work in progress and share ideas and things, and that's really where it's come from. So yeah, they're the latest two. So it's two new minis, one of which is in 2 scales. So it brings the range up to a whopping 8 technically miniatures. But they've been so well received that the next one should hopefully be a lot sooner down the line, and we're I'm looking forward to I've started, my designs are done. I'm now gonna send them over to Marcos, and he's gonna tell me if they're if it's doable or not. Well, I certainly hope it is, because I think we'll have a lot of fun.
Well, absolutely. I think we've got a couple of the images you were talking about for the that you sent me through. It'll take a few minutes before, well, about 20 seconds probably, before you can see it on your screen, but of the effigies and things that you use for inspiration.
Yeah,
So,
if you see a disgruntled looking spouse or child in the background, they'll be my family. I couldn't when I was sending the pictures, I couldn't see if they were one of the ones where my children were running riot around this church as I was sort of in all these weird angles, hanging over the over the effigies. Yeah, I mean, it's basically they are just they're fascinating. This church in particular was, well, it got Parliament went and deemed it too flashy for, because it basically just served one family, and then they were going to shut it down. They've actually got a writ on the wall where Parliament told them to shut it down, and then Charles II came back and said they didn't have to. So it's a really, you know, really cool church, and there's a lot you can find nearby. Lots of parish churches, they have these, you know, the 15th century is not that long ago, relatively speaking.
yeah.
Historically, in a lot of our churches, parish churches, a lot of the sort of core of them is, you know, 15th or 14th century. So they are in there. So I'll be going out on a little field trip in the next couple of weeks to Wingfield, which is where the Duke of Suffolk is buried. So
Right, yeah.
I'm going to go and have a little look, see what he looks like with his armor. It's just you know, I can send those images over to Marcos and say, one example is actually with the Watchful Lord. Because he's wearing a tabard, he hasn't got one of the things that's different about his armor actually is his the pauldrons. He doesn't have the neck guard on the pauldrons, and
Right, yeah.
that's purely because it would have made the tabard look odd. So I didn't want it. But the pauldrons he's wearing are based on another tomb effigy from down the road. And obviously armor was pieced together from lots of different sources. But all of the armor that I've got at the minute is English armor.
Okay,
I
yeah.
use it's not just tomb effigies. There's things like the Beauchamp pageant, which is a set of amazing line drawings. One of my I turned 40 this year, and one of my birthday presents from my mother was this book that's really hard to come off, which is essentially a collection of all of these fabulous line drawings that were made, and it basically for someone like me who's really sad and likes looking at essentially cartoons drawn in the 15th century, it's a absolute gold mine for inspiration. And there's some things that I wouldn't even have considered making into miniatures that have made it onto a list. I essentially have a wish list of what I want to make, and then things keep on getting sort of shoved around and moved around a lot. So that's basically sort of where we are at the moment. I mean, the models launched last Friday, or I say launch like it's some big event. I essentially just said, yeah, they're on they're on the website now, and they've I've done, well, basically I've done nearly 100 orders over the weekend of multiple things. They've gone from everywhere from Latvia, Poland, Peru. I've got one that went to Peru. I can't believe that. Australia, you know, they go all over. And as I said to you before the stream started, I've upset the local post offices a little bit today. All the people who work there and the people in the queue. But orders are still coming in. So I would, because I restocked the other models with them. So I did a huge stock of these guys, thinking these ones will sell, and they have been selling really, really well, and I judge it. But the other ones have all sold out again, pretty much. So I think some of it will have to do with here's the Ruckus, the new thing from War Games Illustrated and Mike Peters, which is a skirmish game. Because I've had quite a few messages of people asking me, you know, can I do like group deals and group shots? And that's something which I'll probably be considering in the future.
Yeah, I wanted to explore that with you. I'll talk a little bit. My I haven't got my copy yet. It's in the post. So, but yeah, it looks interesting. That if you look at the screen now, Martin, this will be one you won't have seen till today. That's Dan Collister's version for you. He sent me that. Wow. He painted that yesterday and sent me the picture over today. So yeah, one you haven't seen. We'll show the pictures. So
that's fantastic.
It's cool, isn't it? Really, really awesome.
I hope he enjoyed painting that.
I think he did. I think he's on a week off this week. I know he's in the chat.
That's lovely. The work on the. This is going to sound so awful, but do you know what my favourite thing on there is? It's the leather work on the scabbard. I absolutely love it. The wear that he's done along the bottom of the scabbard.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And it's just that the contrast there is cool, and that's he's done the wood grain as well. The crazy guy. And that's what I say. I've had quite a few comments from people saying that these are the first large scale models they've bought, and you know they're looking forward to painting them. So hopefully, you know, it's going to introduce people into maybe trying a new thing. I did have someone saying, "Will I do a whole warband at 54mm?" Because they fancy doing some skirmish gaming. I was like, that's fine, but where are you going to get the scenery?
Or you go for a rural kind of scene, you'll be all right if you don't have your buildings.
Just one tree. Just one tree. Just go chop something down in the car park.
I think you'd be all right. I think very small board. I don't. So do you know much about Ruckus then?
Yes. Yes and no. So I've been in the playtest group since it was set up. I got in touch with Mike, and we'd been always chatting backwards and forth on the Nevermind the Billhooks group, and one of the things that I wanted to do when I started making miniatures was get people's opinions. So obviously I chatted to you and I chatted to the other PCP guy. Well, I chatted to Dom, and I'd also thought I'm gonna maybe. At the time, I was really nervous about it. So I'm just going to basically message some strangers in the group who are say who are more prolific in that posting stuff up, and basically say, look, what do you think? And I got chatting with Mike, and he started this, playing like a really scaled down skirmish version of Nevermind the Billhooks, and he was posting a lot in the Nevermind the Billhooks forum, but it started to take form, and Andy Callan, who wrote Nevermind the Billhooks, sort of told him to sort of go with it and post the results, and that's what he did. But it suddenly developed and became its own thing. So it's part of the Nevermind the Billhooks kind of family, but it's actually very much its own thing. It doesn't share. It has similar concepts and like a similar ethos, but it's not really the same kind of game at all. It's whereas Nevermind the Billhooks is what I would call a small. I mean, it can be used for large battles, but it's a small battle, large skirmish game. Think sort of Saga and a bit big, maybe a bit bigger, Lion Rampant, that kind of size game. Ruckus is 12 guys trying to steal someone else's pig or set fire to a barn, something like that, and do the kind of border raiding that people that inevitably got up to. I mean, we know they did. One of the famous ones before the Battle of Loosecoat Field, one of the Wells family basically went along to Thomas Gainsborough's estate and basically just burnt his house down. And then he complained to Edward IV, who then just took a whole army up north. So it's we're going to go and cause some trouble. It's more about, you can have a company of guys, but there's no points values in it. You very simply start with 6 archers, 3 billmen, and 3 guys in armor. And that's it. And you can actually play around a little bit with the setup. You give the guys some skills, you roll up some traits, and it's more about fun than historical simulation. But if you want to make it more about a simulation, more what's the right word? I guess more historical. If you want to, you can add it in very, very easily. But it's a bit swashbuckly. You've got some fun. Things go wrong. There's event cards, so you can take some risks, and there's a campaign system develop your warband and your big man. So I've had quite a few comments saying they want to use the Watchful Lord to represent their kind of like company commander, and the impatient heir will be in there, and the captain of archers, and you develop these fabulous little narratives. So it's a very narrative driven game, and it's about creating these fun scenarios. The rules are free with Wargames Illustrated. Well, this month's Wargames Illustrated. I think they're also
sold out directly online.
Did they?
I bought one.
Sold out.
There was 4 left when I bought one at the weekend because I completely forgot about it. I don't have a subscription anymore, so I just pick up the odd issue. But I imagine that they will reprint it, or they'll make it available to download at some point.
I know, because if the group is now open, so if people are interested, go and join the Nevermind the Ruckus Facebook group, because it's fabulous in there. There's already people who are doing fantasy Lord of the Rings versions with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And samurai, Italian wars, and Mike is encouraging people, break the game, break it, mold it. Let's make it better. He's very, very open to things, and it's all very good. But I mean, it's a fabulous thing because we had Mike on the PCP, and he was explaining how he's always played games, he's always altered rules, and it's kind of a dream come true for him. He got picked up by Wargames Illustrated, and rather than releasing it as a add-on to Nevermind the Billhooks, it's become its own game, its own thing. And I know that there is you've got the free version, but there's enough material for a full, he's already said, there's loads. So whether or not I think the whole point was if they were going to test the waters with this, and maybe we'll see an actual rulebook release, which I think would be fabulous. I mean, essentially, think Necromunda set in the 15th century, but instead of gangers, you've got hairy longbowmen who have come back from France with nothing better to do, and it's a great way to get to scratch that historical itch. I know, for example, and you obviously, I know you like your mass battles, but you don't have the time to, with your commissions and everything else that you do, you don't have time to necessarily paint a big historical army. So people can get their historical fix and have a bit of fun by painting up 12 guys, which, let's face it, a box of Perry miniatures is 22 quid, and you get 40 in that. You and a mate can just split one box, maybe buy a couple of ragged staff to chuck in there as lords, and you're good to go with miniatures left over as well. Absolutely. But there's loads of scenarios, and I encourage people to check it out and check out the Facebook group, because it really is it's quite fun. And I have noticed, because I try very hard not to, I mean, obviously I paint up my miniatures and I put them in these groups, and I've seen more and more little ragged staff ones appearing, and that's quite fun.
Oh, I can imagine.
That's cool. Quite nice, and in the rule book there maybe you might see 1 or 2 in the rule book as well. Nice. If you have a, I did go over to the stand in salute and look through the rule book. It's like, come on, come on, there's one, like that. So I kind of sat there a little bit, just feeling quite proud, looking around. Obviously, no one knows who I am or what that is, but I felt proud at that moment. So, but yeah, it's these miniatures very much could be used in that game. I use them sort of mass battle and creating, diorama bases and command bases, but I think people just used them all over. I had someone who painted them up for the Gondor allies in, I can't think what they're called. Fiefdoms?
Fiefdoms, yeah.
Yeah. They paint them up, and on the liveries they did the Prince is it Amaryl? Something like that.
Amaryl.
So they painted them up there. Yeah, so
perfect. Yeah. And they're hard to get hold of. They're not always in print at Games Workshop, though. So I can imagine why people would be after them. And the scale wise, it'd be perfect. The true scale, which matches the ruling and stuff. So definitely. Well, my plan is to to do what we discussed is use them for Ruckus, really, because I don't have time to paint a whole 28mm Wars of the Roses army as much as I'd like to, and we're getting to the point now where you keep releasing miniatures. I might maybe a couple of sprues of Perry, and I'll be away as well, or maybe by the time we get around to finishing it.
You've got a really interesting one though, haven't you? Because we chatted about it. You've done Lord Berkeley, haven't you? Or Barclay rather, from Nibley Green, who's got that awesome heraldry, and this is why I love this period, because I know we were chatting about it, and we were chatting about liveries and badges, and you know, what can we do? So it's like, okay, you know, I love going and doing all that. So at the moment I'm painting up William Fitzalan, and his badge is an acorn with two little like leaves around it, which is really easy to paint. It's really, really nice. Easy to paint, much easier than what was yours, a unicorn.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, that
something
was.
like that.
I ended
Yeah.
up doing it. Luckily, I haven't had to do it big yet, so I kind of got away with. Well, I'm not quite sure on the new guy I've got sitting on my desk to the side of me now, whether I should be painting it bigger on his towel or not. But
Or you
we
could
will
get away
see.
with doing him as Lord Barclay, just all the crosses
Yeah,
on him.
that's what I was thinking about.
He'd just have the coat. I was reading about him. Offshoot, I was reading about him. He became really, really powerful. I didn't actually realise this, because Nibley Green was the last pitch battle in England, and well, last private pitch battle in England, I should say, and it was over basically before it started when the other guy got shot in the face by an arrow, and he becomes it's like Lord, I can't even remember what the title is. It's something ridiculous like Lord High Marshal of England or something like that.
Yeah, the castle's got a lot of history. I always forget it, but we tend to go once every other year or so. It's a lovely place to visit.
You should definitely go. Take him there when you paint him and put him on the castle and take a photo of it. That's what
That
you
might
should
be
do.
cool. That might
Like
be cool.
I did with Charles at Oliver Cromwell's house. That just for
Oh, if you're in the if anyone's in the area, it's sort of Bristolish way. It's really beautiful castle, lovely grounds. So you walk around the gardens and things if you like that kind of thing. So if you get a typical British summer day, one of my favourite things is English heritage sites and the British summer. If you get a nice sunny day and you've got a lovely castle and some nice gardens and things, the kids run riot for a little while and then they get bored. They get bored and moan about looking at all the paintings inside, and then you give them an ice cream at the end and it's fine. But lovely place to visit, and it's one of the reasons I chose them, because it's close, but I've also been there a few times and it's nice to have that connection. Definitely. Well, when those rules arrive, I think they've been shipped anyway, so unfortunately I didn't think to order it in time to have it ready for our chat today, which would have been good to flick through them. But while we've been chatting, I did put up on the screen some of the some stuff on the Wargames Illustrated website, so these people got a bit of an idea, not the rule book, but all the cards and some of the imagery and things as well.
It's a lot of effort's gone into it. You can tell it's a labour of love, really, and I think it's one that's just going to keep growing, really.
Yeah. I'm going to have a little look through the chat and see if there's any questions that we've missed for you. I think most people at the beginning were just saying hello. I'm not going to do what you guys do and read out all of the people, but thank you for everyone who has joined us this evening.
We do that while people are uploading their photo. What we're doing, we're uploading photos.
Oh, you're stalling for time.
Yeah, that's why we get the weather report coming in. I don't even know how that started, but we get the weather report from all over the world.
I think you. Let me go. So. Kitsune saying it was likes the miniature, so it looks awesome, well sculpted historical miniatures. And then going Walkabout Games saying static poses are great for painting. Julian Hall, those minis are amazing. What scale? I think you answered that. That's probably one of the ones you saw. And then Andy C, will they rank up with Perry's? Absolutely. And then Walkabout Games, I'm printing his Saladin right now. Amazing sculptor. So he's talking about
that Saladin is. I don't know if you've seen it, Stu.
I think I probably have. I can't picture it right now.
It's probably the most unique looking one and probably the most historically accurate. And when I say it's probably the best looking one, it's not because it's the most historically accurate. It's because it's just an imposing figure. He's kind of got this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like a headdress that just kind of comes down. Like here, I don't know what the proper term is, but again, he's done the research and he talked to a lot of people. He said, "Well, no, this is actually kind of what he'd wear." And it's a question of whether you want the traditional look, stereotypical look. We strive for historical accuracy with our Napoleonics and things like that, but when it comes to things like the Crusades and things like that, we're still happy, I think. And some people, that's absolutely fine, to take I just want the movie look, if you like. But he's done an amazing job, and not only has he done Saladin, he's done like 4 bodyguards to go with him.
Amazing.
And they are fabulous, and I was really excited. I'm going to print him off and I'm going to use him in my games. I remembered I do the First Crusade and he's from the Third Crusade, so he's just going to be Saladin's granddad.
Yes.
That's going to be I need a new commander because my guy's dead in a campaign anyway, so I need a new one.
Yeah, I suppose with the further we go back in history, the greyer the area of accuracy anyway of what people wore and what they, so you can get
Yeah.
away with it a little bit more. People can't.
There's
I suppose people
certainly.
probably do argue as much, but on the whole, you can't argue as much about what colours things should be.
Yeah, I've had the color thing is a lot easier to get away with. I've had a couple of emails about the minis and people maybe misunderstanding it. Sometimes you just want something that looks cool. Again, I've got, I had a long back and forth with a chap about how to use a pole axe, because one of my miniatures is swinging the pole axe. And he said, oh, a pole axe is a jabby. And I said, I know, but I wanted a miniature swinging it over its head. And if we look at how Richard III, the death blow to Richard III, someone cut off the back of his head with a pole axe. So someone swung it at some point, and that's that guy, So I think it's important to be I say respectful of history, to take it on board, but then also to remember they're gaming pieces.
Yeah.
And that's partly why with this one, the Impatient Heir, I tried to make it basically hold water, if we say historically, so it could just be used as a model kit for someone who wants to display it.
Yeah,
that won't always be the case. Each one isn't going to be like that. I would hope that that all of them are historically accurate enough for people to enjoy, especially the sort of the diehard historians who wargame. But that one in particular, as I know this one, the armor has just come out so well. I want people to really appreciate the detail and things like that. So
I'm sure someone would have let you know, Martin, if they thought it was.
They did. They did. Don't worry, they did. I sent someone. I'm very used to being questioned on just because my job, my references and things. So I tend to have everything saved. So I did get an email, and I just sent them a litany of images and references for them. And essentially a bibliography. I was like, there you go. Gone.
I think you'll find.
Yeah. No, I didn't even do it. I just went, here you go. It's like, there you are. And I get it. And it's something that people have to put up with. And it's the same with our channels. Even when you're doing fantasy and things, it's mad. I think you'll find that these Space Marines or these goblins or whatever are done, but they're fictional. I can do what.
Yeah, you get a lot of it. You should see. So I do a book club with Jordan Sorcery, and we did a special where we read The Lords of the Lance, which is the new Bretonian novel by Graham McNeil, which for the launch of the old world.
Yes.
And there's a few changes to the lore and adjustments to the lore in there. And people don't like that, and you only need to read the comments on the video to people get quite excited about it.
See, I'm gonna. I mean, I had my Bretonians for they're just feudal French, worshipping the lady in the lake who is like a wood elf in disguise or something. I can't remember what the old law was or something like that. I think it needed updating.
That was pretty much it, and that got changed with the end times. But anyway, yeah, the example is there, and again, it's that kind of 20 years from when law was last written to now, and as you can imagine, things have been modernized, and there's a few more females in the as knights now, and some people don't like that, do they? But we've had enough of that on the internet recently. We're not going to descend into that.
I know what you're referring to, and do you know what? I'm trying to just not engage with anything that I know. I like just any of it at the minute. I just figure I'm going to go back to my rivets in my armor. I'm just going to go back to that.
I think it's safe, and we will stay away from it here anyway.
Absolutely.
So Walkabout Games, I think he sounds like he started at 54mm gaming. There we go. Peter Ward, lots of ECW commanders were fairly long on the tooth. That's a comment about when we're talking about the older commanders. Kitsune likes the winter basing. Andy, the armor detail on those is awesome. Damn it, that livery Paul did an amazing job. Walkabout Games just commenting on Paul Mackay's paint job.
Yeah.
He's had a few good weeks in terms of winning awards and stuff with his painting as well, hasn't he?
He did very well at I mean, let's just face it, he does well. whatever things he goes into. Bless him. So, but that's something else. So, when I send these miniatures to, say, you guys and to Paul, I want to know is it paintable? I sent one with the first round of miniatures. I sent one to Paul, and he kind of sent one back going, "Is this a finger or is this a strap?" And I was like, "Right, that needs to be that needs to be defined a little bit more, so I could go back and make it is like a first round." And that's one of the great things about digital sculpting. I know there's a joy to traditional sculpting. I get that, and the old school. I do, but with digital sculpting, you just save it and edit it and then save it and it's done, and then I can print a test at home and say, yes, I like this. And I know some people don't like 3D models. I completely appreciate that. I think they're coming, resins are getting better, and I use a high precision resin, so I don't I do spend quite a lot on resin. I have like 2 bottles of resin coming most weeks at the moment, and it's after you've taken away the supports and the waste, it's quite a lot of it goes in the bin essentially, although figuratively speaking, because you dispose of it responsibly. But I think people are coming round to it. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I know some people say, they're really, really brittle sometimes, and I give these. I can bend the pole axes all the way around. But sometimes I do wonder. Robin and I talk about it. What are people doing to their miniatures? They're just throwing them. Oh, that was really brittle. They're throwing it on the floor, and it's.
I think some people are just really, really clumsy. Just naturally clumsy. And if you're not a clumsy person, you find my eldest and my wife are very, very clumsy people, where I'm not at all. So I can imagine if Jacob had one of those miniatures, he'd have broken it in 5 minutes by knocking it off with his elbow or something like that. So maybe that's what it is. Some people are a little bit more heavy-handed than others, but I've not had any issues with yours, and it is a concern always. I've got 3D printed miniatures, and they can be more brittle. But I think resins are improving all the time as well, and I don't think we're many years off the resin technology changing enough that's not an issue anymore. You can get good tough resins now that are quite bendy, and I think give it another 2 or 3 years, even the standard stuff we're buying for home use is going to be of the quality that some of the manufacturers, the bigger manufacturers, are using. I think we're getting that, and there's definitely room for both kinds of sculpting as well. Definitely room for both kinds of sculpting.
Absolutely.
Julian Hall, ancient 60 odd is ancient for the time. They must have had good doctors. I don't think good doctors existed back then, unless you like bleeding and leeches and things like that. But
pretty much. That's what you see. A doctor, that was something I thought would be pretty cool. Would be a doctor. I thought that'd be a bit of fun. And if you play like a Ruckus game I don't know if you play Gangs of Rome, but there's a medicus in that. You go up to him to essentially heal in game, and if you roll a 1, he just kills you. He goes wrong and he nicks an artery, and that's it. You bleed out on the spot. But again, a doctor, pardoner, pilgrims, that kind, all this kind of stuff. Just fun to add into your games, even if you just use them for a bit of a scene in a town. I've just finished. I just had an English Civil War game of Pike and Shot against Miller last week, and I'm editing it at the moment. It's a biggie. It's taken quite a while, and I've got these awesome looters from Bloody Miniatures, which are guys drinking, and I just pop them in the town, just because it's a bit of window dressing on the battlefield, which I love building up the image. I almost now enjoy setting up the battlefields as much as I do playing the games. I'm very open to those kind of ideas as well, and just having a bit of fun.
Well, I'd love to see you do a set. Obviously, you couldn't officially do them, but you changed their name slightly from a certain Toby Clements series.
Oh yeah, guy with a book on his back, and with like hodgepodge armor and a. They
were very very characterful, weren't they? You have the female physician who's dressed as a boy kind of thing going on. I think they would be very good.
There may or may not be some sketches kicking around. In fact, this isn't them, but everything kind of starts life sort of like this. And it's just sort of you know, sort of sketches. So there's quite a lot of. I need to actually get like one place to keep them all. But
Did you share me a couple of sketches, or they images or something else? I've had a closer look.
I can't remember. I don't know if they were. Oh no, the sketches I sent you. Those are the they're from the Beauchamp pageant. They're the 15th century cartoons. I think I was talking about. Just to show the detail that you can get from them. I think the one I shared with you was a tournament scene, and you can actually see in it that they've got rounded swords so that they don't kill each other. But if you have a look in that you can actually see that they've got these ends of the swords around it, but you can really see how the armor works. And that was actually commissioned, we think, these pictures by the Earl of Warwick, so the Kingmaker's widow, for her grandson, Richard III's son. These were meant to be inked, but they were never finished, presumably because the grandson died, and then obviously Richard got killed at Bosworth and Henry took over. So it was never finished, but they're in the British Library, and you can look at these all for free online. But there's 40 of them, and they're actually chronicling the life of her father. So it would be her child's great grandfather. Richard's child's great grandfather. But the thing is even though it's depicting stuff at the start of the 15th century, including the Battle of Agincourt and Shrewsbury, and all of these battles are in it, you can see the livery on their jackets. It's really cool, and on their boats and stuff. A lot of them are drawn in later armor. So they're wearing the armor of the period the later period which I'm looking at, but it's depicting events 60, 70 years before. But there's some awesome stuff in there. There's always someone getting shot in the ass as well. Every battle scene, there's someone getting shot in the bum. It's definitely a medieval favorite. But it's essentially just like a comic book that she was commissioned for.
If I was drawing a big battle scene, I'd probably be drawing people being shot in the bum as well. I think that's probably
maybe that's the miniature I have to make. I don't know any company that does that. The casualty figure. We have contemporary evidence of people being shot in the bum. I just need to get that miniature made.
I think it would be very. I bet you it would be very popular.
Might have to move that up. I mean in terms of what's coming next, it's it's no secret I want to look at something mounted, basically. And I have a very set image in my head now. Marcos, if you ever, and I encourage people to go and look at Reconquer Designs, and even if you don't have a 3D printer at home, if you go and have a look, there's loads of third-party people and who sell them. His cavalry figures are phenomenal. The motion that you can get on these miniatures is fabulous, and I have some ideas that I would like to explore, but there's one in particular. So the sales on these ones have been really good. So he's a very, very busy chap, and he's sculpting. He has obviously his own business, essentially his Patreon in monthly miniatures, plus he sculpts for a lot of other people as well, so there's a bit of a wait to get in with him, and a cavalry figure will take a lot longer to sculpt, but who knows, maybe if it's suitable, there'll be a 54mm cavalry figure for people to have a go at.
Let me look at it. I've just brought up the Reconquer on my mini factory. See if we can find a suitable mounted figure.
He does he's just started a fantasy tribe. He does one miniature a month because he's obsessed with the old world of Bretonia. So he if there's any sculpts that he's not a fan of, he basically does a different alter. He's got an amazing what do you call it? A hippogriff, a lord on a hippogriff, but it's diving. It's got its wings back, and he's got his lance actually sort of fully outstretched, not couched like everyone always has couched. He's got his out like this, and it's phenomenal. You'd have to angle it, I think, on a wire to actually get it at the angle, but it looks amazing. But yeah, you can see all he seems to know a lot about horse anatomy. um, so, but yeah, his stuff really is cool, especially again with the reins and everything. There's always sort of things because I did his camels. I printed off his camels for my first crusade, and again, there's no evidence that the Seljuks or whatever had camels, but they look really really cool. So I was just going to put them in, and I just use them as light cavalry.
Yeah,
they just
why not?
look phenomenal. So yeah, I just think they look cool.
Right, let's see if there's any more questions. There we go. So I lost where I was now. Dom, who would drag their family along to historic sites? Well,
yes, it's that. Yeah, well, I didn't put a video of mine. If actually, Dom's series on Welsh castles is one of my regular painting aids. I'll have to also use it to send my children to sleep as well. But no, I've for my 40th, Hayley, we're going up to York. She treated me to a trip up to York, and she said, "Oh, I was like, oh, can we do whatever I want? Is it that guy?" Yeah. I was like, and then I think she realised very quickly what she'd said. She said, "We're going to be walking around a lot of muddy fields," because she remembered about Towton and Ferrybridge and Dintley. Like, oh, yeah. Is there anything there? No, no.
just feels.
It's a massive field. But wasn't it? It was a really big battle, wasn't it? I said, yes. So it's a big field. Absolutely. So I'm going to be doing that, and but yeah, there's inspiration sort of everywhere, and I do the because I find because obviously I come up with the concepts and the designs and the references, and I send them to the sculptor. I think these kind of they work really well because the sculptor can rein in the designer, and the designer can rein in the sculptor, and then the historian can rein in the design. Whereas if you're, and I haven't, I think people are amazingly talented who do it all themselves, but sometimes you need people to rein you in, basically. So I had an idea for a sculpt. Dom put me right. I'm gonna try and do this. So I saw a reenactor basically at Tewkesbury. And he was walking out, and he had all full set of armor and up, and he was essentially going like this, he had his sword in his hand, and he was basically going sort of a come at me pose. And I was like, oh yeah, that looks cool. So I said to Dom, I said, oh, I'm thinking about one like this, and he said, I basically say that looks crap. he just said he looks like he thinks he's Jesus. He just looks like he's going to be crucified. What are you doing? Don't do that. And I've started to thought about it. Then I thought about it. It's like, well, if it's on a single base, that'll work. But again, if you're thinking about how this is going to work with other miniatures and spacing, having your arms outstretched like this, closelining the people either side of you, it's not going to be good. But he's still there. He's still in the back of my head. It might just need to be modified slightly. Maybe on the back of a horse, he could do something. But
on a horse.
Yeah, I don't. As he's jumping over, so it'd be El Cid, it'd just be some guy who's strapped to. He's done. That's the other one he's done. I don't say this. The Reconquer Marcos, he's done El Cid because obviously Reconquer he deals with the Reconquista. That's his period of choice, and he's done a historic version of Charlton Heston's El Cid strapped to the horse with the arrows sort of like sticking. So he's actually got the cloak slightly blowing aside, and you can see all of the sort of apparatus that they put in place to keep him upright. And if you actually look, he's got the sword in his hand, which is a copy of El Cid's sword from the museum, but it's all bound to his hand, and he's all these little pulleys. And it's fabulous. It'd be a very cool relic thing for the Bretonians, but not quite as skeletonized. I think there's a lot of inspiration you can take, like in a lot of places. So yeah, but you do need people to go, don't do that.
Well, it's and maybe having those sort of parameters are helpful sometimes, like you said. If you sometimes fantasy ranges just seem to go a little bit too crazy, and maybe that's because they don't have those parameters.
I feel like Yeah, but that being said, it's certainly in some of the historical ranges as well. There's some stuff where you're like, what, is anyone? Why has somebody made this? Like, who? I want to know who the person is that's buying this figure. There are a couple of questionable ones. It's like, and there's one person that's bought that figure, and they're now on a list. So, why do some of these things exist? But,
True, very, very true. What else? We'll make sure we're not missing any more. So Andy from French Hagen said, "Would love to see some 17th century Polish hussars at that level of detail. Probably not one for you, but yeah, they would look cool.
It would be, it would be cool, but
yeah, I don't think he's requesting them from you. I think he's just thinking
with the feathers and
cool
that. Yeah, we should do a whip round. We'll just get one done. Get one done.
It would, or you might, if people wanted to do Kislev armies, you might find you sell a few that way.
That's true. I forgot about Kislev.
Because people buy them for other things, definitely. What about the Anarchy? Very much an overlooked period. That's Julian.
So the Anarchy, well, the Anarchy is quite well served at the minute in terms of kits. You've got footsore with the earlier side of the Barons War stuff, and they've actually got an Anarchy supplement coming out, I think, fairly soon. And of course, they've just had their War Games Atlantic doing plastics based on Paul Hicks sculpts, which are amazing. Phenomenal. I saw them at Salute. And I had to tear I just walked away. They weren't for sale at Salute, thank God. But I just walked away because these look pretty. And of course, you've got Victrix, and they're also Normans, and essentially the Norman infantry are pretty good for quite a long period of time. Weirdly, I went to a cider festival on Sunday, and I was walking in Burwell in Cambridgeshire, and I was walking past Burwell Castle, which is essentially just a mound now in a field, and we were walking across it to get back to our friend's house, and I was like, oh, I'm going to look this up, and Stephen built it in the Anarchy, and William de Mandeville, who was near, funnily enough, near Lowestoft and Kingsley, he was always around the coast, who was on Matilda's side. He lay siege to the castle while it was under construction.
Okay.
And which is why it was never finished, because he got shot with a crossbow and then went to Mildenhall to die. And then he's buried in Temple Church in London. And then when it got bombed in the war, someone nicked his head. But I kind of thought, what a great idea for a game. We always think about siege games with fully built castles, or with a castle part of the wall. Why wouldn't people attack it while it was? If you knew someone was building a castle deliberately why not attack it under construction? You can have the work. You can have additional objectives with the workers. Trying to get away, or you've only got earthen banks on one part of it. The great thing is about Burwell Castle is there was stonework there until 1930, when it was destroyed when the locals tested a fire hose and just blasted the stonework away. It was all gone. It's all gone. But yeah, I think the Anarchy is woefully underrepresented. Have you seen Pillars of the Earth? The Ken Follett, which is based on Ken Follett, but it's got I always forget his name, but the Lovejoy. I always forget his name. He played Lovejoy.
Yeah, I'd probably only think of him as Lovejoy now as well, which is not his. Probably not what he wants to be remembered
for. In Deadwood, and anyway, him. He's in it, and Eddie Redmayne, and it's a really good. That's set in the that's set in the Anarchy, and I think everyone, obviously, because it's just pre-Plantagenet. And everyone forgets about it. You've got the William the Conqueror stuff, and that's all exciting. And I'm doing the First Crusades, and then you forget there's the little bit in between, which is
that'll be
really
it, won't
cool.
it? It becomes niche, but it's cool that there are ways to do it, definitely. What else have we got?
Ian McShane, that's what someone said.
Ian McShane, yes. Thank you, Andy. Dan said, it's a great mini Martin. Had good fun painting it. Not done much. 54 since Inquisitor. Thank you for sending him over. And he said Knights of Dal Amroth. That's what we were trying to remember.
That's it. Yeah.
And Julian, a unicorn should be simple, just a horse with a horn. Now, hang on, that sounds all kinds of wrong. Yeah, I'll be careful where I put the paint the horn. I think it would stand out if I put it in the wrong place. And then John, weather report, sun-kissed with a cool evening breeze from Santorini, hence no hobby pledge this month. I think we'll forgive you, John, if you're enjoying Santorini. I'm off to Corfu in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to it.
I bet you are.
It's been a few years since I did a kind of Greek do nothing holiday. We spent last summer driving around Europe in a camper van, so this is a little bit different. So hopefully the kids are just old enough now where we might be able to take it in turns to read.
Well,
just
we're
that stage.
Yeah, we're off to. We just booked. We're going down to Cornwall in July. Yeah, end of July. So, but we're stopping over at I don't know, somewhere like Bicester or something on the way. So we're gonna pop down there, and I was already looking at what's near. So we've got to go past Tintagel. So we'll go into Tintagel, and then because
you must have been before Tintagel, I'm sure.
I've been to Tintagel, but I was 7.
Oh,
I haven't been to Cornwall since I was 7, and I think it's changed a little bit.
I will have. I go quite a lot. I love it down there. So,
I think there's safety rails now. I think there's help.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's the statue as well,
tourists.
isn't there? The Gallos.
Yep.
See, I look at that. Maybe I know that like a lot of people. I really like that statue. I think it looks quite from the pictures that I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
I think it looks really cool. I didn't realise it was as big as it is. I thought it was person size. But so we're going there, and then I've managed to get some Wars of the Roses in there because I'm going to go to St Michael's Mount. Now, whether or not my children and wife come with me is a different thing. I'd be ashamed if I got marooned on St Michael's Mount while the kids are somewhere else. But there was a siege of St Michael's Mount. But which is again really good for narrative stuff, for skirmish gaming and Ruckus, because you can't really, when you're laying siege to St Michael's Mount, all you're basically doing is putting some boats out in the harbour and having a bunch of guys on the beach.
Yeah.
But the Earl of Oxford, who took it with like 20 guys, and his mate kept on sallying out and nicking stuff and then going back before the tide would come in. But it turned out that I don't know what you'd call him. I think it's like the sheriff of Cornwall of the West, who Edward IV put in charge of getting him out, was selling them supplies because he was such a brigand and so interested. He was selling the people he was laying siege to supplies so that Edward would send him more, so he would prolong the siege. Eventually Edward had enough and just sent a massive army down there, and it was a case of come out or we're just going to blow up St Michael's Mount. And eventually the siege got lifted in the Earl of Oxford. But I just like the idea that this guy was flogging supplies to the people he was laying siege to.
Can make some money out of this.
Again,
quite enjoying this gig.
Yeah, what a great scenario. You got to sally out and nick the supplies and get back in before the tide comes back over, and that's but the fun of historical wargaming. And obviously in any wargaming
that would work with Ruckus, wouldn't it? That kind of small
it'd work. Absolutely it would work in Ruckus, anything like that. I mean, we played some siege games, Robin and I, because I maintain, in fact Dom bought it for me. In fact, hang on 1 second, I'll just turn around, grab it. Oh, there we go. What I consider to be the single best supplement for wargaming ever made and usable across this is this, which is the Siege and Conquest book for Warhammer historicals. And Dom lent me his, and I used it to play siege games for the Wars of the Roses. But there's so much good stuff in here, like ideas for scenarios, different and because it was Warhammer historicals, obviously, I mean, you could use this in the old world.
Yeah,
really,
thinking about checking eBay and seeing how much they go for.
I mean, in here you've got you have historical scenarios about Constantinople, but then ideas for scenarios that you can play, which is what we did. So we had a mission where the attacking army just turned up, and the defending army were trying to get behind the walls with as many people as possible, and you get points for who you get behind the walls. We then had one where the defenders sallied out to try and like destroy some of the attacking players' positions, because we always, as wargamers, want to play sieges and get it over with in one session, but that's not how sieges work. They were really long and really dull with little points of action, and so we played 3 games. And there's actually in here there's a campaign system for going battle to battle. So this one is a raid where you start by raiding a village. Then you have a there's even a whole chapter on weather and how that will affect your supplies, all the different types of siege equipment. But you can have things like getting the messengers out. So we had our game where the messengers had to get off the board, and that would then affect the next scenario. So there's a 2 campaigns in here. There's a campaign system whereby you can play where you're managing resources, which is cool. Everyone likes a bit of that. Or you can play a simple tech tree campaign where if the result is the messengers get away, then the next battle you play is this one, and then the final battle you always play is the final assault, and depending on how well you've done. So there's a traitor. That was the one ours finished on, because we got that. So a traitor has opened the gates, or horde, all or nothing, a relief force arrives, a sortie, rapid assaults, forlorn hope. That's always a good bit of fun. You can send for some goblins with some things to go and try and blow up. The messengers, the vanguard, absolutely loads. And I maintained it no matter what system you play, because I used it for Hail Caesar. It's designed for Warhammer Historicals. I mean, obviously they're both written by Rick Priestley, so that helps.
Yeah.
This is the best supplement ever made.
I might have to go and have a look, see if that's available.
It is. I think that's where Dom found it, because I borrowed the book off him and very, very reluctantly gave it back to him afterwards. It was fabulous. It was just such good fun. But again, you know, with Ragged Staff, I've got the opportunity now with things like these siege scenarios, like people dousing fires or tipping stuff, you know, all sorts that you can play around with. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with Ragged Staff, is just have a bit of fun with it. And I think that's what most wargamers, I would hope, want to do, is you know, have that sort of emulated on the tabletop. So that's kind of what I want to do, really.
Absolutely. We've got a couple more pictures, I think, things you're working on at the moment, and then that should take us nicely out to about 10 o'clock, which I think would be time to let everyone go. But it'll obviously be a couple of seconds before you get to sit on the screen. But there's some chap with a banner you've been working on at the moment. So this is just some of the Wars of the Roses stuff that you've got on your workbench at the moment.
Yes. So this is what I'm working on as we as we speak. So the chap with the banner is so he's a Perry miniature, but he is the banner is actually one that I've had commissioned privately.
Nice.
So it's not a sort of commercial thing. I just needed I found this amazing artist, and he's done stuff before, and I sort of went to him and said, look, you know, I'd really like this. Any chance you could do it? And he said, yeah, he'd love to give it a go. And it's come out, and you know, again, the measurements. This is where it gets had, like the measurements of the flags, of what types of flags are used, are a little bit up in the air. Like there's a big thing about whether or not these long swallow-tailed flags were ever actually used in battle. Or were they just kind of pitched at the back where the tents are and hung off of ships and things? And you know, I mean, it probably would pull that guy over, but they look cool. That's ultimately what matters. So, yeah, that's what he's a Perry miniature with a sort of a flag that I've just had done. So this is for William Fitzallen, who I've got a game, Wars of the Roses game, in a couple of days, for a scenario I've designed, which takes place just in the closing hours of the Second Battle of St Albans, where the Yorkies have lost, but they're trying to extricate themselves and their supplies before darkness falls. And I needed a commander, so I thought I'll paint him up. So that's that one there is a good example of the Ragged Staff miniatures with Perry miniatures. So the chap on the right pointing, that's the my Captain of Archers, the Ragged Staff Captain of Archers, and then the other ones are just Perry plastics that I've converted from a kit bash together. So the arms with the covered bows are from the light cavalry sets. I think the arrow bags are from the light cavalry set, and I had to just kind of chop them around a little bit. So I like the idea that the captain's rushing over and telling them to, look, the enemy are there. You've got to get the bows out and the bags and everything. So that's a good idea. I basically realised stupidly, and I can't believe it hadn't been kind of picked up on it actually, that I didn't have any comparison pictures between other ranges. And rather than, and I did a video on Ragged Staff when they released, and I think I did a sort of like here's a Perry miniature next to them, but I thought rather than just take a photo and have it, on my workbench next to a ruler, let's put them on a base. And we'll see how they go. I've just seen that Ben has entered the chat, who's I'm playing on on Thursday. So I know, so he'll be seeing these guys.
Won't lie, Martin, I'm going to feel sad to kill those nice minis on Thursday.
He's very confident. He's very, very confident. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm working on at the minute, and I'm just painting up Fitzalan himself. As I say, I've just done his heraldry, and I've got a guy. I can't decide if it looks like Winnie the Pooh or Big Bird, but it doesn't look like a lion, so I'm going to be going back to that in a minute. And I've got a few other things. I've just painted up a huge Perry carriage that they make, which a friend of mine bought for me a couple of years ago, and then I moved house and completely forgot that I had it. And so in the scenario, the Yorkists kind of start, and they're trying to basically it's a what do you call it, like an organized retreat. They're falling back, and points are going to be awarded for the carts of supplies, which could worth more than if they get some carts of dead, because I've got the wounded carts from Perry. So they're obviously worth less because they're peasants, so they don't get as many points for getting them off the board. But again, what I like to do with the systems, the mass battle systems, is show that you don't need to have huge armies to have a really, really good game using those systems, because I really enjoy Hail Caesar and Black Powder and Pike and Shot and all of that. And really, if you just create interesting scenarios and parameters for your games, you can have maybe only 8-9 units on the board, but it feels like you've had a massive battle. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. What I'll be working on after we've finished as well. I've got some stuff that I need to finish, and then I have more orders to pack. So
yes, well, you're doing very well, which is fantastic to hear. Really, really fantastic to hear. So, before we let everyone go, then, do you want to give everyone a bit of a rundown to all the places that they can catch you and your minis?
Yeah. Okay, so you can get the miniatures if you look for Ragged Staff miniatures, either in Google or on Etsy. You'll get sent over to the store. Some of them are sold out. The new ones aren't currently, because I was clever enough to do a huge stock of those, and but yeah, there is a sort of a restock on the other ones coming. You can find me on Facebook, on Ragged Staff minis as well, where there'll be updates. I post up on there about ideas I've got, or when things are back in stock. Then you can obviously catch me on the YouTube channel Seventh Son, and on Instagram at, I think it's Seventh Son Wargaming, I think. I need to post there. And of course, if there's anyone who you can catch me in the Plastic Crack Podcast Facebook group, and also on the Plastic Crack Podcast on Mondays at 8 o'clock, just not on bank holidays, because we like to have some time off, which means that we only do 2 episodes this month.
And then someone comes along and steals you, so you don't get a week off streaming anyway.
Yeah, well, no, that was all right, because I didn't have to do any. Well, I had to send you some photos, but I didn't have to do any prep or look for any news items or do any of that stuff. So no, thank you for having me on. It's lovely to just talk about the Wars of Heroes. It's in wargaming, because I know I should probably talk less about it, but Hayley doesn't want to hear about it anymore. So.
Not at all. Well, you sent me the miniatures, and I've started painting them. We didn't even go to desk cam, because I just wanted to focus on you talking about it, really, and give everyone. We talked about it a little bit when you were on the Hobby Hour, but I think we talked about everything. We talked about the Plastic Crack podcast and all those other things so much as well. And I just really wanted to, with you just having this launch of these 2 new miniatures, I really wanted to give you time just to talk about your miniatures, and then how that fits into sort of Wars of the Roses, wargaming and things. And that was the whole point of the stream, really. So hopefully anyone who didn't know you or was watching this on replay that may be interested in trying out Wars of the Roses wargaming, and maybe Ruckus is, pop down to your local Tesco's or your WH Smiths, because I bet you there'll still be lots on the shelves in there, and get those free set of rules, and buy yourself Martin's minis and maybe one box
Absolutely.
of plastic Perrys,
Yeah.
and you know you're
set.
for a few quid you are set for a really nice skirmish game. So definitely go and give it a try. Right. Anyway, so thank you very much everyone who's joined the stream and joined in with questions and things. Sorry about the audio problem at the beginning. Again, that slight delay, which is a bit of a pain. I will try and get it sorted for next time. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all soon.